Have you ever heard the tale of a love so pure it could withstand the test of time and the fury of the sea? Let me tell you about Bailey, the white Labrador, who became a symbol of unwavering loyalty in a small seaside town. On the pier of a quaint coastal village, where the relentless waves crashed against the shore and the salty breeze permeated every home, sat a pristine white Labrador. His presence was a familiar sight to all the townspeople. Bailey, as he was known, gazed out towards the vast ocean, watching ships of all sizes come and go. Bailey wasn't a stray. He once had a loving home, experienced the warm embrace of a little girl, and was the most precious gift a father had ever bestowed upon his child. 3 years earlier, Captain William, the skipper of the Sea Breeze, found himself in a distant harbor city on a business trip. As he strolled through the streets, he stumbled upon a small pet shop. In the window display, a white Labrador puppy wagged its tail incessantly, its eyes sparkling like tiny gems. William stood transfixed, watching the puppy for what seemed like an eternity. His thoughts drifted to his daughter Emily, a 10-year-old girl whose smile could rival the brightness of the sun. Emily would always stand on the pier, waving goodbye to him whenever he set sail, her eyes brimming with tears. William longed for his daughter to have a companion, a faithful friend to keep her company during the long months he spent at sea. Without a moment's hesitation, William entered the shop and left with Bailey in tow. When he returned to their seaside town, cradling the white-furred puppy in his arms, Emily burst into tears of joy. She hugged Bailey tightly, whispering, "I won't be lonely anymore." From that day forward, Bailey became an integral part of their small family. He accompanied Emily to school, raced alongside her on the sandy beach, and lay beside her as she studied. On golden afternoons, father and daughter would take Bailey for walks along the pier. His white coat shimmered in the sunset, a stark contrast against the backdrop of azure waves and golden sand. As time passed, the day arrived for Captain William to embark on another voyage. The family made their way to the pier, with Bailey trotting happily beside them. Emily hugged her father tightly, fighting back tears as she always did. William knelt down, patting Bailey's head and saying, "Take care of our girl, buddy." Bailey's tail wagged in response, as if understanding the weight of his new responsibility. They watched as the sea breeze sailed away, growing smaller on the horizon until it disappeared from view. Emily and Bailey stood there long after the ship had vanished, the white dog's fur glistening in the sea breeze as they bid farewell to William. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Every single day, without fail, Bailey would race to the pier and take his place under the old shelter. His white fur would become soaked with rain, yet his eyes remained fixed on the endless horizon.
Our rain or ice.
Through storms and fog, he sat there, waiting for the familiar figure to step off one of the many ships that docked at the pier. Tourists passing through the town often paused to take photos of the white dog sitting in the rain. They marveled at how his eyes would light up whenever a ship appeared on the horizon, only to dim again when no familiar face emerged from the crowd of disembarking passengers. The townspeople grew accustomed to Bailey's presence on the pier. Children would stop to pet him on their way to school, and fishermen would share their lunches with him. Yet, despite the attention and care he received, Bailey's gaze never wavered from the sea. As months turned into years, Emily grew from a child into a young woman. She would visit Bailey on the pier every day, bringing him food and water and sitting with him for hours. Sometimes she would talk to him about her father, sharing memories and hopes for his return. One stormy night, as rain lashed against the windows and wind howled through the streets, news reached the town. The Sea Breeze had encountered a fierce storm far out at sea. Despite the captain's best efforts, the ship had been lost, along with all hands on board. The town was plunged into mourning. Emily was devastated, her world shattered by the loss of her beloved father. Yet even in her grief, she found herself drawn to the pier, to the one creature who shared her pain and hope in equal measure. Bailey's vigil took on a new meaning. He was no longer just waiting for William's return. He'd become a symbol of hope and loyalty for the entire town. People would come to the pier, not just to remember Captain William, but to draw strength from Bailey's unwavering faith. Years passed, and Bailey's once pristine white coat began to show signs of age. His fur took on a silvery sheen, and his movements became slower. Yet, his dedication never wavered. Rain or shine, He maintained his post on the pier, his eyes always scanning the horizon. Tourists passing through would often ask about the old white dog on the pier. The townspeople would proudly recount Bailey's story, speaking of his loyalty and the love that kept him waiting. Many were moved to tears by the tale, and some even chose to stay in the town longer, drawn in by the palpable sense of community and shared hope. Emily, now a young woman, continued to visit Bailey every day. She would sit beside him, stroking his aging fur, and together they would watch the ships come and go. Sometimes she would bring her own children, telling them stories about their grandfather and the faithful dog who never stopped waiting for him. One cold winter afternoon, the pier was unusually quiet. A heavy rain fell, obscuring the horizon. Bailey sat under the rusty old roof, his once white fur now faded to a silvery gray. Emily arrived for her daily visit, but this time, Bailey didn't leap up to greet her as he usually did. He lay still, his eyes gently closed, his head turned towards the distant sea. Emily knelt beside him, tears streaming down her face as she realized that Bailey had finally completed his long vigil. In that moment, it felt as though the entire town held its breath, mourning not just the loss of a beloved pet, but the end of an era. In the days that followed, the townspeople came together to honor Bailey's memory. They erected a small plaque at the pier, engraved with the words, "Bailey, the loyal white dog. You waited not only for yourself, for all of us to believe in a love that never fades." The story of Bailey, the white Labrador who waited faithfully for years, spread far beyond the borders of the small seaside town. It touched hearts around the world, reminding people of the enduring power of love and loyalty. To this day, visitors come from far and wide to see the plaque on the pier and to stand where Bailey once kept his vigil. And though he is no longer there in body, his spirit lives on in the hearts of all who hear his story. A testament to a love that transcends time, distance, and even death itself.